I'd like to make a motion to purchase and install a camera at Linton Park as suggested in the security proposal by the chief.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I find it interesting that we've been talking about park safety, and but actually what this is all about is putting these cameras up. Even the chief's proposal is video security camera plan. And Rand, you mentioned that was your last motion, and I think a lot of the aspects of the chief's proposal, which I did read thoroughly many times, includes things like education, things like town watch, important things that we should also be talking about, not just cameras. And you know, there was a clear sentiment at the meeting on November 17th that this town was very much divided on this issue and of placing a camera at that park. So, you know, I think, and I expressed it on the 17th and I'll express it again, I think a lot of the aspects of the chief's proposal are really, really good. The education, greater enforcement, you know, the town watch program, lighting in the park, I think is something that should be done very quickly. And I also expressed at that time to have a whole section on engagement, and that by engagement I mean more programs with parents, with kids, with teenagers. I mentioned there was a state police unit who do this type of thing, a community services unit. And my proposal was to enact the chief's plan with the additions, not put up the camera, see how things go for 9 months, 12 months or so, and then ask the question again, do we really need a camera? I suspect the answer may be no after you put together all the aspects of the multifaceted proposal like the chief put together. So I'm disappointed that the chief's proposal has been narrowed down to one camera in the park.
Well, let me respond to your disappointment because I think your disappointment is misplaced. I have made motions that have parsed out the cameras. That doesn't exclude any or all of the chief's proposal, and I'm not the only person on council that's capable of making motions. You're certainly more than free to make the motion to accept any and all of the chief's proposal. My initial motion back on the 17th was to adopt the entire proposal, all of his proposals. And the holdup to all of his proposals was one camera at Linton Park. So in an effort to move these issues forward one way or another, I've chosen to go about this the way that council had suggested, parse it out. And so I've parsed this camera issue piece by piece. And when this camera, the last camera, we vote on it and it's decided one way or another, if I'm of a mind, I may make a motion to adopt the rest of the chief's proposal. You're certainly free to do the same. I'm not the only person on council that can make motions. And just because I'm making motions that are parsing cameras doesn't prohibit us from adopting all of his other fine suggestions. I'm all in favor of them.
The emphasis on this entire proposal is still on cameras, which I think was the point Gerard just made very well. And I dare say almost a rush to cameras. Now, leaving aside the fact that this is not being left to the incoming council in January, I want to talk about the question of need for a moment and stray into the area of philosophy, which was so well discussed at the meeting in November. Every single month we are handed by the mayor our police report. So every single month we have a snapshot of what's happened in the last 30 days, and we have a year to date. And I mention that specifically because there is no greater evidence or proof of need when it comes to law enforcement than crime. Whether it's an actual crime or just an incident, it still drives what governments do in their policing. And when we talk about the public surveillance in the proposal as originally put forward with the federal grant, and in this one, ultimately it's got to be about public safety and, yes, crime. And yet when I look at the report handed to us this evening, which is a year-to-date through November of 2009, and I look at those things that most of us would appreciate as important, as significant, as something we should be conscious of, I look and I see 0 for year-to-date for rape, robbery, armed and strong-arm, use of force, attempted rape, aggravated assault, assault and battery, theft, felony theft, auto theft, weapons offenses, prostitution, indecent exposure, kidnapping, riot, which is always good to hear, although we also had no barking dogs. So the point is, I think when we talk about spending money and when we talk about philosophical decisions about should we surveil our citizenry or not, it has to be driven by need. And I would suggest to our community and my fellow council members that statistics are the first evidence or not of that. In the meeting of the 17th, that question came up, and I believe the chief said, it depends on what you call crime. And I may be paraphrasing, and anyone can correct me if they think I'm not correct on that. But crime is crime. Crime is verified by statistics. There's a standard put out by the FBI. And you either have the numbers or you don't. We don't. So what is the need? And what is the reason we would go and spend even $1 to engage in a divisive issue in our community? And I don't see that need. And I don't see that reason for division here. So if the evidence isn't in the statistics, I have no idea why the chief would want to put this forward, no less why it would have support, unless it is something more disturbing. And that is someone's general philosophical or ideological sense that somehow it makes us safer. And for those folks who feel that, and genuinely feel that, I would suggest that's still not a reason to make public policy decisions for public surveillance. We sit up here and we spend your money, you listen to us, we make decisions, and at the end of the night, I think we hope you feel that we've engaged in a careful, analytical process, and while you may disagree with our decision, we've at least thought about it and sounded like we thought about it. I don't see that here with all the turmoil involving the public surveillance aspect. And that's what troubles me. So when we get down to this last vote on placing a camera in Linton Park, I say to my fellow council members, I don't see the need, I don't see the proofs, and if there's a philosophical view that somehow it is to protect us in the future as a deterrent, I would suggest go look at statistics on that and you'll find out it's not true. All the studies show it does not deter crime. And on that basis, I see no reason to spend our money, and I certainly see no reason to have our town have its own self-image affected by someone's view of what they feel a danger to be when it's not supported by evidence.